You purposefully hurt a teenager's feelings, like you went out of your way to humble them? With all the 10-year-olds at Sephora, like, I don't know if this is gonna be like a justified thing and like they needed to be humbled, or if you're just a monster. I don't know. It's hard to guess. What is it gonna be? Happy apple picking day! As a quick reminder, like we do for our new friends. If you want a chance for your stories to be featured on Am I the Bad Apple, you can submit them to my subreddit, r/AmITheBadApple. And as always, if you're lurking in the comments and you see someone say something that you don't agree with, I highly encourage you to respond to them and like communicate, talk it out. Civilly. Literally no one here is going to listen to you if you talk down to someone. Literally no one wants to hear your point of view if you're being a jerk. And that's me included. Sometimes tone isn't conveyed very well over text and typing and comments and things like that, and so be mindful of that. Recognize if you're coming off as defensive. Recognize if you're coming off snooty or snobby or anything like that, and you might not recognize it. There are plenty of times where I think it's very obvious that I'm talking and typing in this tone of voice, and it's just not. We can't read each other's minds. So just be aware of that. This community and this whole series is meant to like not only create empathy and show different perspectives, but also help each other practice healthy communication, especially with people we don't agree with. So without further ado, let's get started with this week's episode of Am I the Bad Apple? Let's go apple picking. Apple number 1. Am I the bad apple for sending my daughter to school in her pajamas? My 7-year-old daughter, Elsie, has recently started to make mornings very difficult. She keeps throwing a fit when we have to get her dressed for school. We've tried setting clothes out the night before, but she still makes an issue of it. She doesn't want to sleep in her clothes, so that's not an option either. My wife leaves for work before me, so I'm normally the one who has to deal with these tantrums in the morning. So the other day I woke Elsie up as usual and she refused to get dressed. Surprise, surprise. I really wasn't in the mood to deal with this and I didn't have the energy to fight with her about it, so I just said, okay, I'll just take you to school in your pajamas. She looked pretty shocked because I don't think that was an outcome she was expecting, but the rest of the morning went a lot smoother than normal. We got in the car and she was more quiet than usual, so I could tell she wasn't really sure what to think of what was going on. After a while of driving, I guess the realization set in and she told me she wanted to go back home and change. I told her she already made her decision and I wasn't driving her back home now. She started freaking out, saying that she wanted me to drive back home and she didn't want to go to school in her pajamas. I wasn't turning that car around. So we arrived at school and she eventually walked in. When my wife came home that night, she looked pissed. She didn't say anything in front of Elsie, but later in the evening, as expected, she went off on me. She started saying that I embarrassed her and made us look like bad parents who can't be bothered to dress our daughter. I told her, I'm sure Elsie isn't the first child to go to school in pajamas. It's not the end of the world. And she wears normal clothes every other day, so one day in pajamas isn't gonna make everyone think we're bad parents. She told me she thought it was a cruel thing to do to Elsie, but in my opinion, it was pretty harmless and taught her a lesson. So, was I the bad apple? Okay, so as we know, I don't have children, and I also never taught little kids, okay? For some reason, people always think that when I was a teacher that I taught the itty bitties. No. I taught the big kids. And at least from where the big kids are concerned, like, they come to school in pajamas all the time. Like, no one cares. Like, at least from like a teacher's perspective, like I've seen kids come to school in like weird stuff, man. Weird stuff. But like I don't care. And I know those are teenagers and they dress themselves, but I'm just saying that I can't imagine that like the teachers would really care much. Like a lot of my really close friends are 1, elementary school teachers, and 2, parents of itty bitties. And like I have one friend whose kid has this princess costume that she loves going to school in, and she wears it all the time. And I guarantee you the teachers do not care. I feel like the mom is really self-conscious about this, and I'm just trying to think, like, who does she think is judging her? Because the other little kids, they don't care. They probably think it's like the coolest thing, right? They think the costumes and like, they don't care. And even if they care for a day, the other kindergartners are gonna forget the next day, right? She's 7. Okay, yeah, the kids are not gonna care. And the teachers definitely don't care, because pajamas are like not the craziest thing they're gonna see all day, all right? I'm sure there are so many kids that go to school in pajamas. I'm sure there are so many kids that go to school like in full-blown costumes and things like that. Like, you're fine. I guarantee you're fine. So like, who else does the mom think is going to judge them? Like, the other parents aren't there watching, and even if they are, like, any parent, I say this as a childless millennial, okay? So like, take it with a grain of salt. But like, just seeing my friends who have itty bitties and hearing about their experiences and like talking to them about what it's like to raise a toddler, much less like, and what it's like to raise kids. And again, you know, most of my friends, they have like 5 and under. Most of them don't have older than that, like they're not 7 yet. But I feel like just talking to them, any parent who says,
oh yeah, my kid has just never had a fit doing XYZ. My kid has never made it difficult getting ready in the morning. My kid has never tried to test boundaries in this way.
They're just lying, and they're just being mean for no reason. We don't support that. We don't support it. Like, I don't even have kids, and I know enough about my friends raising theirs to know, like, if I see a kid running down the street in pajamas, like, my first thought isn't, oh, those parents don't even get their kid dressed in the morning. My first thought is, oh, someone gave their parents a rough time today. So I just feel like it would be common sense for other people who actually have kids and have experienced that to have the same reaction. And again, I could be wrong, because, you know, again, just childless millennial. All I have are these jerks right here. Hey, Miss Girly. You can't see Milo. You know he doesn't like to be on camera. So yeah, I'm going good apple, because like, again, I don't have experience with this, but I feel like, at least from like what my friends tell me, that when your kids push a boundary, you have to push back, or else like they're just gonna constantly eat away at those hard lines that you really wanted to set. And you know, at some point kids have to learn like actions and consequences, and if she's continuing to push boundaries when it comes to getting dressed and going to school, there needs to be some kind of consequence, or she's just going to be doing it, right? Or am I ignorant about that? But I feel like now she knows that if she doesn't get dressed in the morning, she's gonna go to school in her pajamas again. And she doesn't want to do that. She didn't like doing that. So she needs to get dressed in the morning. And I would love if parents could tell me if I'm like completely out of line or not with that. But like, I don't see anything crazy wrong with that. So I'm going to go good apple, and I'm just gonna rely on other parents to let me know if I'm way off base or not. Apple number 2. Am I the bad apple for freaking out my coworker? I'll admit this is petty, but I don't think there's anything wrong with it. My coworker is one of those really into tarot, ghosts, crystals, horoscopes, like all the things. No disrespect, I just don't think any of that works. I even got her a nice crystal for Christmas because overall she's generally all right. I just learned about this cave near my house, and I've been dying to go explore it. I geocache, and I hope to place the cache there. I've been discussing it for a few weeks and always get the same warning from my coworker. This cave is called Fairy Cave, and she warns me every time I talk about it not to thank the fairies. I didn't think much about it at the time, but she eventually got on my nerves. I did ask her to stop because fairies aren't real. So I went to the cave to see what it is and get a lay of the land, look for arrowheads, and out of pure spite, I shouted to the cave, "Thank you, fairies!" Now my coworker won't come near me anymore. I guess she thinks I'm haunted. I was told I was a jerk for doing that and upsetting her, but it got annoying. So where do we stand? Am I the bad apple? Was I just being petty? I just need to know. So I don't know a whole lot about that world. I know some people, like, it encompasses their whole life, kind of like a religion, but I don't know if it would be accurate to compare it to a religion or not. And I don't want to be disrespectful in any way, I just don't know. So if I'm saying something incorrect or making an incorrect assumption, someone please let me know in the comments, because I don't know, and I don't have a lot of experience with this stuff. But I'm assuming to some people, the ghosts and the tarot and the creatures and the horoscopes, like all of that is just as real to them as Christianity or Judaism or Islam is real to other people, right? And so in my own personal opinion, if that's the case, then it should be respected as such. It would make you a jerk to go up to a Jew or a Muslim or a Christian and say, haha, I don't think God is real. Like if you're an atheist or an agnostic or anything like that, that's your call. But going up to someone who does believe in God and saying that to me is so, like, that's just disrespectful. But that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about colleagues. Sorry, I have like cat hair in my eye. We're talking about colleagues who are having a conversation. He's saying, hey, I'm going to this place. And she's saying, hey, I'm just looking out for you. Don't do X, Y, Z. Like, it can be bad. And all he has to do is, okay. Like, if it's annoying him as much as he says it is, then stop bringing it up. Stop talking about going to the cave. Like, you know that if you're going to bring up this cave, she's going to bring up, hey, this is Fairy Cave, don't do X, Y, Z. So stop bringing it up if you don't like talking about it and if it's annoying you. I don't see why that's so difficult, you know? It's just like when you're with a group of people, there are things that if you don't want to get into politics, if you don't want to get into religion, there are things that you just don't bring up if you don't want to talk about it with that group. So why is that so hard to understand in this situation? You don't want to talk about it, don't bring it up. But you do keep bringing it up, and it just keeps annoying you to the point that you've decided you want to completely spite her and rub it in her face. Now, I don't think you're wrong for going to the cave and reaffirming for yourself, hey, I did this and nothing happened and I'm fine. That's your call. That's totally up to you, whatever you want to do. But you are the jerk for going and using it to rub it in her face. I don't like that. That's just wrong. Again, to this person, these legends, they're very real. It's a very real part of her identity, and like for you to just spitefully rub it in her face just to make her feel bad is a jerk move, in my opinion. I don't like it. I don't agree with it. I'm sure there are going to be people that don't agree with me on this, and that's okay, but I'm going bad apple. Specifically because, again, you're not wrong for going and like reaffirming for yourself. That's fine. Do whatever you want to do. But going back and rubbing it in someone else's face, like, ha 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 ha, told you. Again, this is a big part of who they are. It's not hurting anybody. You're the one that kept bringing it up in the first place. Like, just let them be. And it's not even like before she kept bringing it up to harm you or convince you to join in on her beliefs or anything like that. Because I know there's going to be people who try to compare it to like the Christianity where people are like, you can't do X, Y, Z because that's sinful. But I don't think it's the same at all. She was just saying, hey, just letting you know it's part of this legend not to say this. She was just saying, don't yell this random phrase in an empty cave. That doesn't prohibit you from living your life. That doesn't prohibit you from doing the things that you wanted to do. Like, I don't think there was anything harmful in what she was saying personally. So I think the point that it annoyed you to the point that you just like wanted to crush her dreams, that just, I don't like that. Gosh, I really have cat hair all over my face. I feel like this whole episode is just gonna be me trying to get the cat hair off. This is your fault. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to disturb you. I'm just going bad apple. Like, I feel like you just went out of your way to spite her. And I just don't like that kind of behavior, you know? Apple number 3. Am I the bad apple for calling out my lying coworker? I, 33 male, have a coworker, 57 female, who tells a lot of stories and anecdotes. Some seem possible, but others are far-fetched. Towards the end of 2023, I overheard saying that as a child, roughly 3 to 4 years old, she met and would regularly have Sunday meals with Walt Disney. I didn't question it at first until about a week ago. I saw a documentary on Disney's life that stated he died in December of 1966, which just doesn't add up to my coworker's anecdote. I mean, doing the math, it means that my coworker would have been born the same year that Walt Disney died. So how would she have had meals with him at ages 3 and 4? He'd been dead for multiple years. I really want to call her out and warn people not to believe everything my coworker says. I mean, she made such an easily fact-checked lie with such confidence. So, would I be the jerk? Why does it matter to you so much? I get they're lying, right? I totally get that. And I think it's totally okay to like side-eye them and like just kind of know, oh, they're full of crap, right? But why does it matter to you enough to make like a whole workplace stink about it? Okay, so I was talking to my mom like a year ago. We had a similar conversation. And my mom was so annoyed because someone that she knew was basically like bragging to everybody about how accomplished it was for her daughter to do XYZ, and it was so great, and she's so grown up and so mature. And my mom was like, that's a very normal grown-up thing for her daughter to do. Why is she going around bragging about, like, everyone's kid does that? That's not anything like special. Everyone's kid goes and gets a job. Everyone's kid goes to interviews. Everyone's kid like finds their own way into their own career. Like, this isn't a big deal. And I'm like, Mom, who cares? And I know it's a little different because like this lady is bragging about things that never happened, and my mom's person is bragging about things that like did happen that just weren't as spectacular as she was making them out to be. But like, to me, it's a very similar situation of like, who cares? You know, if the coolest thing going on in someone's life is either something that's like very normal and regular or something that is a lie, like all that really says is that they don't have a lot going on for themselves at this moment in time. Why knock them down more, you know? Like for me, someone else just trying to feel good about themselves, like it doesn't bother me. For me, it more creates like sympathy or like a little bit of pity. So like, okay, pity this person that they feel like they have to lie to make themselves feel more interesting. But why would you make an entire thing out of it? Like if you were able to easily figure out this person is lying, chances are other people understand as well. And you know what? Other people are minding their business. If you don't want to hear this person's lies anymore, then just don't associate with them. Don't communicate with them. Don't converse with them. If you really felt that strongly about like the lying, the most I would do is if she said something like that to me again, I would say, oh, that's so weird. Like, didn't he die in 66? Like, you can ask her about it in like a way that doesn't make an entire office feud. But if you're just going around the office gossiping about this person and like putting them down and like, oh, she's lying and blah, 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 like she might be, but does that make you any better to be the office gossip? Like, you know what I mean? It's not like you're just going to your office bestie and like spilling the tea. Like, no, you're saying that you want to go around to everyone in the office and just tell everyone that she's such a liar. There are people who think that gossiping is just as bad as lying. So how are you being any better? You know what I mean? For me, I just feel like it's unnecessary to feel so strongly about someone who clearly just wants to look and feel important. And I'm not saying it's the right thing for them to do. I'm not saying lying is the good thing to do. It's never the good thing to do. Lying is not okay. Like, I don't want it to be misconstrued at all. I'm not at all condoning lying or anything like that. That's not cool. It just feels so unnecessary to involve yourself in that kind of drama. Like, it's just drama. You're causing drama. Just take the knowledge that you gained and like keep it with you and move on. Like, you don't need to cause a big stink about it. And if you do, I think that you would be just as bad, personally. I'm gonna stop rambling. I'm going bad apple. Yeah, that's what I'm going. Apple number 4. Am I the bad apple for destroying a teenager's ego? My brother-in-law and sister-in-law have 2 daughters. Bria, 14, who is my biological niece, my brother's daughter, and Leah, who is not my biological niece and is my sister-in-law's daughter. My problem is my sister-in-law. Every time someone compliments Bria, we must also compliment Leah, otherwise she'll get mad. For example, if I tell Bria that she's so very talented in something, my sister-in-law will interrupt me and say, oh, but isn't Leah also very talented? It's annoying. I can't say a single word to my niece unless I say it to Leah also. A few days ago, we were at their home and the girls were getting ready to go to a party. Bria was looking absolutely gorgeous, and so I told her, oh my gosh, Bria, you look gorgeous.
My sister-in-law then interrupted me again and said, but isn't Leah also very gorgeous?
I finally snapped and said, no, She's not. She looked at me shocked and said, "What the heck is wrong with you? Why would you say that?" I told her I didn't want to say that, but since she wanted to know, I answered truthfully. If she thinks her daughter is gorgeous, then she should tell her, but she can't expect other people to compliment her. Well, now she thinks I'm a jerk, but I don't think so. I think I should be able to compliment my niece, and my niece alone if I want to. So, was I the bad apple? How can you genuinely ask? Was I in the wrong? All I did was tell a teenager that she wasn't pretty because her mom asked if she was. And like, actually let that be a real question. I get what the mom was trying to do. I'm not saying I agree or disagree with it, but I get the idea of like not wanting to make one daughter feel more or less than the other. I get the mentality. I don't know how much I agree or disagree with it. I don't know if she does it the other way around, that if Leah gets complimented by her family who are biologically related to her, like does she do the same thing with Bria? Like, I don't know. I don't have all that information and I don't want to assume. All I know is like, I get the idea of what she's trying to do. I can't say whether I do or do not agree with it because I don't have that information and I'm repeating myself, so I need to move on. I think it's kind of weird to be so offended that like, oh, I can't believe I have to compliment this other teenager. Like that to me is a really weird thing to be so offended about. You know, like, am I crazy? I do get the idea that you have to be able to handle that sometimes other people are going to get compliments. Like that's something that you should be able to handle growing up. You know, sometimes someone's work is going to be praised because they just did better than you. Sometimes someone else is going to get promoted and you're not. Like that's just a fact of life. Sometimes you're going to get praised while other people are not. Like these are just facts of life that you have to be able to deal with that. I understand that's a thing. I just also think it's very weird to be so offended that you have to tell a teenager she's talented. Like that to me is just so strange. Like I can't imagine being mad at that. And like, I think the big thing is in like one of the first few lines of the submission. My problem is the sister-in-law. I don't think you have a problem with Leah. I think you have a problem with her mom. But the thing is, the only person losing here is Leah. Like you're taking your anger at her mom. I don't know what your issue with your sister-in-law is. I don't need to know the issue with your sister-in-law. But like, degrading a teenager and insulting a teenager because you don't like her mother is so wrong. And shattering a teenager's ego just to make a point to her mother, to me, is so wrong. Like that's gross behavior. I just can't imagine, because I'm assuming like she was asking with Leah in the room. I'm assuming everyone's in the room, or else I don't think she would have asked. Oh, isn't Leah great too? I can't imagine how anyone could like tell a teenager or say that a teenager isn't pretty and be like, well, I don't think I did anything wrong. What do you mean? I'm like a little speechless about it. That is so messed up. Yeah, I'm going bad apple all the way. Like 16 is also such a vulnerable age, man. Like that's such a hard time, like the puberty and the hormones and like finding yourself, and to hear like a family member, because you are family, like you might be her step uncle, but you're still her step uncle. Like, you know, that's still like, she might not be your biological niece, but that's still your niece. Like, I don't get how you don't get that. And why does it bother you to compliment your niece? Like, it's so weird that you think that you can only be nice to your biological niece. Like, this is still your niece. It's a step niece, but it's still your niece. I can't, I'm speechless. This is so weird to me. Bad apple, all the way. That's just so rude. And I really don't think anyone can convince me otherwise. And I know there's going to be people in the comments that are like, well, he shouldn't have to compliment someone if he shouldn't want to. Okay, fair enough. Again, I never said that I agreed or disagreed with the sister-in-law, with her mom, on like fishing for those compliments. But I am against just blatantly insulting someone to make a point, especially a teenager who has done nothing wrong to you, is not a part of the problem. Again, you said your issue is your sister-in-law. You didn't say your issue is Leah. And like, she's just this collateral damage in this situation. I'm not gonna budge from bad apple because you made her ego and self-esteem collateral damage to your issues with your sister-in-law, and to me, that is absolutely not okay. So, bad apple. All right, I got 3 bad apples and 1 good apple. Not an entire episode of Bad Batches yet. We had our one redeeming father. At least that's what I got with my votes. I would love to know what you got. Did you get anything similar or different to me? I would love to hear down in the comments. And again, just a reminder, if you want a chance for your stories to be submitted on Am I the Bad Apple, you can submit them to my subreddit, r/AmITheBadApple. And for your well wishes today, Tuesday is National Croissant Day, so my well wishes for you is that you're able to find yourself a nice, warm, flaky, buttery croissant. For me, preferably with one with Nutella in it. That's my favorite, is like going to the store and getting the little croissant tubes, and getting a little spoonful of Nutella and putting it in, and then rolling them all up and putting them in the oven, and oh my gosh, it's so good. That's my hope for you, is I hope that on this National Croissant Day that, maybe I'll start making my well wishes like tied to the national days each day. When I was teaching one of my Model UN kids, every day would be like, it's national, like there's a national blah blah something day every day. So maybe we'll start doing that too. I think that seems really cute. Because sometimes on the spot, my ADHD is like, what's going on today? I don't know. Or what's going on this week? I don't know. So maybe I'll start doing that as well. So yeah, go get you a croissant this week. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope to see you all next week, and have a great rest of your day. Bye, my lovelies. Mwah.